Yeah, good to see everybody. Good to have ACC week start this week. We're back to work. Going to be back at home. Looking back on Saturday night, again, as disappointed with the performance as I was with the outcome. Just didn't play to our standard in any of the three phases of the game. I think the biggest thing for us right now is where we are defensively. That's always going to be the foundation for how we win games here at Duke. And if you look at us across three games and how the numbers trend, run defense has been pretty good, about where it normally is. It's just our pass defense is far from where it was. And maybe some of that's to be expected, losing, not having a Terry Moore, losing a Jalen Stinson, a Josh Pickett. But we're going to have to grow up in a hurry in our secondary, especially because we're facing the best passing offense, the best quarterback, and group of wide receivers, tight ends, running backs that we've played over the course of this year. And I think part of that is what's getting us on third down. I think it's similar in both games. The last two games, we've had a chance in third down and longs. In the third quarter, when we had a little bit of momentum in the game, to get the ball back to our offense, and we keep allowing third down conversions when we should be getting off the field. And that's really where we're giving away the chance to establish control of the game. Special teams has been inconsistent. I think anytime you discuss special teams, as a former special teams coordinator, the first thing is always who are the people that touch the football. And given our experience that we have, either as returners or as a specialist, I think they would all admit that we have not played up to their standard. Whether that's, again, whether we're fumbling the punt or missing kicks, kicking the ball out of bounds. We just haven't been where we should be, and those guys know that. They're better players than that. I expect them to be able to turn that around. In terms of the people that are around them, same thing, too inconsistent for our liking. We got our kickoff coverage unit right. We've had a big play there, pinning him deep, which got him as really the best complementary football we played the whole night there. The inconsistencies on our field goal unit, that's really we're a little different. Our field goal block team is a defensive football play. Our field goal team is an offensive football play. But that's something that we're looking at, personnel scheme wise, to make sure that we don't ever have a kick block like that again. Because again, we leverage points in a game that came down to a one-score game. It's just not acceptable. Offensively, I think the positive takeaway is the run game, more explosive in the run game. I think that's something that we said would be a big point of emphasis coming into the year, and I think that's proven to be true. I think the disappointing thing is when we broke some long runs and we're getting in the red zone, we want to run the ball better in the red zone, and we had some favorable looks to run and score, and either through missed blocks or missed assignments, we're not able to capitalize on that momentum. And we turned twice. We turned second down, and we turned a 2nd and 1 and a 2nd and 4 or 5 into a third down and long in the red zone. Anytime you got to throw the ball in third down in the red zone with condensed space, that's very difficult to ask for your quarterback. So again, we're encouraged on that we are more explosive in the run game. Our yards per carry is way up from where it was a year ago, but we got to be able to finish drives with our run game when we get down there, and then overall not put as much on our quarterback having to make plays for us. So a lot to work on, and again, a big week for us. Dave's got his team playing really well. They're undefeated. And have played three really good football teams where they've been challenged each week, so they're battle tested. And like I said, they have some challenges in a way that are different than what we faced this year. So we're gonna have to practice a lot better and to play a lot better this week to get a win.
With the youth in the secondary, how do you grow up faster? Just get some guys in spots that make plays that they haven't been making.
Well, one, you learn lessons from the game, right? And good players, like the players we're missing, they were young players once as well, right? So this is all part of it. This is just what we do as college football coaches, right? Your roster turns over. But you want to make sure that it's from an urgency standpoint, from an assignment standpoint. To me, it's one thing if you get beat, but if we're not communicating like we did multiple times, and you see guys just wide open, in our secondary, that's not what we did a year ago. That's not our standard. And in my mind, really, whether you're a freshman or a senior, we shouldn't be just cutting guys sky-ass free for explosive plays. At least make them earn it, right? If they catch a ball on you, they have the right to do that. They practice too, but we didn't make them earn enough on Saturday, and so that'll be a big point of emphasis, just to use our outside voice and communicate better and anticipate what's going to happen based off of formations and splits and things like that.
Manny, State's offense has been more balanced this year, and they've been running the ball pretty well with Hollywood Smothers. What do we notice about their run blocking and just the way they've been able to?
They have a good diversity of scheme, and the quarterback still is a threat to run it, so that you have to +1 that. I think they just have a really talented back that they know. A lot of their skill was really young a year ago, and they're all back now, and the linemen they're not dumb. They know when they got a guy behind them that can make an explosive play. So I think they're just doing a good job of being a little bit more committed to it this year, and that probably helps as well.
Let me ask you about Nate Shepard. He's been really impressive. Do you see his role increasing as the season progresses?
Yeah, I think you're already seeing that, and for a young back, there's what they do with the ball in their hands, and that's what they do without the ball in their hands, and that sometimes is the progression in terms of how much you can play. But he's got a chance to be explosive. He can make guys miss in the open field, and right, we know that the game is, explosive plays tie in so much to who wins and loses. So as long as he stays explosive, he'll keep getting the football.
Speaking of running game, is there a place for more called runs for Jerry Minster?
There's a piece for that. I don't know that that's necessarily his absolute best skill set, and I don't know that where that would have factored in the game in terms of helping us based off where we were a week ago.
Coach Brentzlaff was saying after the game for Tulane, he was talking to the media, and he said there were big alleyways for him to run in at times during the game.
Well, the first,
I'm sure the opposing coach.
yeah, well, the first touchdown, we didn't have a guy straight backside for quarterback, and then there should have been still a safety there. I mean, there should have been two guys at least had a chance to tag him at that point, and neither was there. There was a scramble. The one touchdown was a scramble. That was a 5-man rush where he just found a lane. This is what athletic quarterbacks do. The power read that he scored on the touchdown, we had two guys at the point of attack that missed tackles on it. It was really more of a tackling issue than a schematic issue. So, to me, there's the run game aspect of it, and then there's the scramble to run game aspect, which in our mind, that actually is that's our pass defense. We actually put those in our passing stats. A quarterback scramble is not your run defense. NCAA's got that wrong for years, right? Sacks aren't your run defense. Sacks should go in your pass defense, and quarterback run should go in your quarterback scramble should go in your pass defense as well.
Manny, in the back, on the run game on the offensive side, you mentioned you got to finish drives with the run game. Is that a mental thing with the players, or do you kind of have to maybe scheme it up a little bit better with play call?
No, what I'm telling you is that we had two play calls that should have walked in, but we didn't block the right guy. And so I think part of it is, especially when you're on play 6, 7, 8, 9 in a drive, is staying mentally focused at that moment to not allow a guy, cut scot-free where you're either one-on-one with the guy standing on the goal line, or we've got that one guy even ahead on him and have a chance to walk it in. So part of that is just, giving those guys the looks in practice so they see that again and again. And because, people are going to hop into different looks. The one play, the 2nd and 1, they happen to look that they only had run twice last year. So the thing we're seeing early in the season, really in all three phases, is everyone has a chance to prepare the team for what they expect to see, but you also have to understand your rules, and you have got to follow your rules. Tulane threw the kitchen sink at our defense in the first half of that game. A lot of things that they had not done near in the first couple of weeks of the season. There's a rule for it. Now, did you practice that on Tuesday and Wednesday? No, because you hadn't seen it. You hadn't seen it even last year. So you got to get into your rules, and your rules will get you out. If you're trying to, I would say, if you just try to memorize a study guide that the teacher gives you, okay, that'll help you. But those guys coach too, and they're allowed to test you on things that aren't on the study guide.
You said on Saturday after the game that you were impressed with some of the leadership you saw in the locker room, even with the loss. Who stepped up, and what were some of the things you did?
There were a lot of guys that stepped up. I think one of the great things is that we have leadership amongst the lines, which I always think good football teams do. So I think Justin Pickett's been phenomenal. Brian Parker, Matt Craycraft all had things that they shared with the team afterwards. Aaron Hall, Wes Williams, VJ Anthony. These guys care. They care a lot, and our guys want us to succeed. They don't like where we're at. Again, we talk about when you have expectation and things don't go your way and how you deal with that, how you deal with unmet expectations, especially in the short term. But they know we've got a lot of ball left to play, and we still get to control what happens next to us.
And I want to ask you about NC State's defense, specifically about their defensive ends, Sebastian Harsh, Kean Sloan, and the years that they're both having. Even though Sebastian is going to miss the first half, how do you try to neutralize the way those two are playing and coming up with big plays to in the games?
Well, I think, yeah. I think first we have to run the football, right? And there's a lot of things that go into that. Even and this is where talk about complimentary football. If we play better on defense and keep the score down, okay, then our offense doesn't have to be in a mode where they're always coming from behind. Which is really, if you think about the game state we've been in over the last 2 weeks, we have just been behind almost the majority of the 8 quarters that we've played. So if we can get to more of what we our plan to win and how we want to play defense, then you can be more two-dimensional on offense. Pass rushers want to see offenses that are trying to drop back and throw the football. We've played good pass rushers this year. Obviously, Illinois had 2 elite pass rushers as well, so we've got a little bit of experience on that. But those guys are a handful, But I guess what? So are ours. So I think that's the same thing, right? I think each team is going to try to be able to control those guys, not just by how you block them. It's how you scheme up in them and how you not put yourself in a lot of obvious drop-back situations.
And this is a rivalry game that isn't played every year. Does that make this game even more fun on Saturday?
That is played every year, you say.
I'm sorry.
Now, yeah, in the current state of the ACC, at least for the next 10 to 12 minutes. So, as long as, if they're here by Saturday,
In that case, it's just how nice is it to face a rival?
it's a big deal to us, right? If our we talk about winning the league, you have to win at home first, right? And because we do get to play the Big Four, and this is the first step of that, so it's a big deal to us. Any sort of foundation we have for success starts by winning our in-state games.
Going back after the game, the leadership, some of the stuff that guys shared in the locker room. I know y'all haven't been back here for probably 48 hours, but how have you seen the team respond to that now?
Yeah, you see more. I like the way even when we were out last night on the field, just the older guys setting the tone, stepping up. The players get it, and it's what they tolerate is normally what shows up on Saturday. And so I think everybody just has a different sense of urgency. You wish we had it from the start, but again, sometimes you have to learn things. And teams, like I said, you got 100 guys, you have 100 different mindsets, right? So what you're really trying to do is trying to get the majority of the guys into that, winning championship type mindset.
How have you felt that this team has progressed headed into conference play?
Well, like I said, I think, we're not proud of our performance this past Saturday, but it is in the past, right? And so we have a chance to learn from it and to grow on. As I say, there are players who actually played really well on Saturday night and are improving. We just got to get more guys going in that direction. So it doesn't matter either way. Like I said, about 4 o'clock Saturday, the only thing that matters on Saturday is going to be what happens on Saturday.
C.J. Bailey was a true freshman playing against you last year. Is it noticeable his improvement?
Oh, I mean, how could it not be? I mean, first of all, you just notice his body. Even seeing him in Charlotte at ACC Media Days, you can just tell, first year just being in a strength program, fully committed off season, what you would expect, even just from an age standpoint of where he is age-wise and just maturing in other years. So, yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where it's tough when you're a young guy and get thrown in like that, ahead of schedule. But that's what we talk about, where lessons at times are lessons, or losses are lessons. And I'm sure he's not the player he is today without the experiences, good and bad, that he had a year ago.
How do you iron out the inconsistency on special teams?
Well, it's our weekly work at it, and everything gets evaluated. Like I said, it's a personnel thing. If there's schematic things that we can do better, it's not like what we're doing right now. We just sort of conjured up, yesterday. These are things that have stood the test of time, and sometimes it just has to be, AOB, what A stands for, and the other one's on bench, and just change people who are playing. Like I said, it's just, where the issue has popped up has been maddening to us. But we're on it, and we'll continue to get that better. No different than we're getting the offense defense better. But I will say this: there has not been a phase there's not been any of all 3 phases. They've all been inconsistent. They all have. So if you're inconsistent on a football team, it's probably going to show up in special teams as well. So it's the chicken and the egg. But right now, we've got to get all of us, more dialed into what we're doing.
When you say personnel changes, are you talking about any changes in the guys who touch the ball, or just
Anybody, which is no different than what we do on offense or defense.
Anybody else?
Yeah, one about non-conference scheduling. In light of the ACC changing the revenue model for viewership being factored in, I'm curious if that changes any way you evaluate non-conference scheduling with, more eyes on you, maybe leading to more money. I know schedules are set far out, but how do you sort of look at that in light of the new revenue model with viewership?
Yeah, you have to, right? I mean, you're looking for opportunities now to be seen. Which one is good for our program anyway. We want to be in those type of games, and we want to be able to show recruits that we're playing on big stages and whatever it is, whether that's week 0 or going abroad or, I will go play on Mars, whatever, you know what I mean? But I think everyone understands now that we don't say this is a business under our breath anymore. We recognize that this is a legit business. And so to me, whatever's good for the business of Duke football or Duke athletics or college football in general, everybody's got to be on board to do those things.
Does that make you look at, we've seen talk about some teams canceling series with others. Granted, some of that deals with the number of league games they might play. There's all kinds of variables
Right.
going on. do you have to look down the road even at series you have, or it's just too much to predict right now?
I think the first step is the league deciding 8 or 9, and so you can't even look down the road until you're certain on, like, do we have it? Would we already be overbooked if we go to 9? So I think there's, again, like many things, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. So you kind of are trying to figure out what are our big ideals, like what do we want in a perfect world, and then what do we have, either what's scheduled or what's to come from the league.
All right, well, thank you.
Awesome, thank you all.
Thank you.